Okay, can you hear me all right? Sure. Okay. This is Robert Parrish. I'm Barbara Dempsey, by the way, and everybody knows me. And this is our first presentation of the season this year. And this is Robert Parrish, and Robert is the Vice President of the Cass County Parks and Recreation. He goes by Robert. They called him Bobby as a kid, and Bob as he got older, and then he met his future wife Rita, and she called him Robert, and that was it. So he goes by Robert. He likes Robert. I don't blame him. I like Barbara rather than Barb. So he's the key reason that Dr. T.K. Lawless Park is an international dark sky park and a Michigan dark sky preserve. And it received visitors last year, he told me, from lots of places, including Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, Ohio, England, to name a few. It's actually the second one established in Michigan. The third is in the Keweenaw Peninsula area in the Keweenaw Mountain Lodge in Copper Harbor. Robert has become quite a force in the movement toward dark sky parks. He helps with the dark sky parks that are either established or are being established or are being planned in Chicago, Bay City, Mackinac City, Belle Island near Detroit, Lutz Park in Livingston County, and the Beaver Island group, which I think is pretty interesting. That Beaver Island is, like he said, really trying to get a dark sky park. This is one of 6 presentations that he either has done or is getting ready to do this year. He's spoken twice at Penn High School, at the Dowagiac Senior Center, the Michiana Astronomical Society, at Headlands west of Mackinac, and at Belle Isle near Detroit. His education in sky watching and astronomy began as a child when his dad Andrew was in the military and was on the Coral Sea in the 1950s. His dad had learned about stars from a pilot, and when the family moved back to Michigan, his dad taught Robert what he knew. Plus, Robert was very interested in the space race, and in the early 1960s, he received a telescope from Santa Claus. He told me he's not so much into the science of astronomy. He just thinks the stars are beautiful. Tonight will be a first-time journey for many of us, particularly me, as Robert has slides and videos to share with us, so it will be a true learning experience. So enjoy.
Hi. Thanks. Everybody, thank you for coming out this evening. It's a little bit hot and sticky out there. As Barbara said, my name is Robert Parrish. I grew up in Cassopolis. I lived here in Edwardsburg for going on 40 years now. And been involved quite a bit with the community. I'm a lifetime member of the Masonic Lodge here in town. And I like looking at the stars. As Barbara said, I'm not so much into the science of the stars, but I think it's beautiful. As a matter of fact, I'd like to ask you a question to start out. How many people here think that Mother Nature is beautiful? Raise your hand. If that's so, then why do we continue to litter it? And I mean littering the night sky with light. And it's my opinion that Mother Nature can be just as beautiful at nighttime as during the day. And that's one thing that we like to say out at Dr. Lawless Park, is that the daytime activities is just half of what we have to offer out there. If you come out to the park on certain nights, you can see the Milky Way arching across the sky. In another couple of weeks, Saturn, Jupiter will be up high enough where if you come out on one of our stargazing nights, I can show you Jupiter and its some of its moons. I can show you Saturn, and you'll see the actual rings going around Saturn. I'll show you other galaxies, globular clusters, and teach you certain things about the constellations that you might not know about. Now, this is our logo. We are Dr. Lawless International Dark Sky Park and also a Michigan Dark Sky Preserve, which is 2 separate things. To be qualified as an international dark sky park, those qualifications are much more stringent than to be a Michigan dark sky preserve. But Michigan was the first state in the union to establish dark sky preserves and give a nod to the importance of saving the beauty of the night sky. Previously, to become a Michigan dark sky preserve, you had to be lands owned and managed by the Michigan DNR. That was part of how they wrote up that particular law. But 3 years ago, Scott Wyman and I, Scott Wyman is the Parks Director, working with the Michigan Representative Aaron out of Sturgis, we had to go to Lansing and testify in front of the state legislature. And we got that changed, where now county parks can be recognized as Michigan dark sky preserves. So there's quite a few of them spread out through Lower Peninsula. And there's, as Barbara said, there are 3 international dark sky parks now in Michigan. The Keweenaw Mountain Lodge near Copper Harbor, Headlands, which is just west by about 2 or 3 miles in Mackinac City, and us down here in the southwest corner of the Lower Peninsula. And I'm currently working with, let's see, 3 other entities in the state. Bell Island outside of Detroit. Of course, because of all the city lights in Detroit, they won't be a dark sky park, but they're working towards the title of being an international urban dark sky place, which is a level below that of being a dark sky park. That's the same for Lutz Park in Livingston County, because they get quite a lot of light pollution from the Flint area. But Beaver Island is extremely dark. And if you don't know where Beaver Island is, it's in the northern waters of Lake Michigan, and it's dark. It's dark enough where the Milky Way this time of year is so bright that it casts a shadow on the ground. It's beautiful. It'll take your breath away. So I'll get into our logo a little bit later on in the presentation, and we're going to hope that this works, and maybe not. We had it working earlier. Let me see. So, we're just going to do it this way. Can everybody hear me still this way?
We can.
All right. That's me. Robert Parrish, Vice President of the Cass County Parks and Recreation Department. I'm a member of the Michiana and Kalamazoo Astronomical Society. I'm a delegate to the International Dark Sky Association. I received my bachelor's and master's from Western Michigan University, where every darn day is a good day to be a Western Michigan Bronco. And I'm a self-proclaimed astro nerd. And you can capitalize the nerd part. And if you don't believe that, bear with me here. This is me, 1962. Santa Claus just brought me that telescope, and I don't think you could have slapped a smile off my face. And that's my dad in the background. I refer to my dad as the greatest dad a kid could ever hope for. He's the reason that I started the journey towards Dr. Lawless receiving his certification. I lost him almost 3.5 years ago, and he was just an all-around nice guy, really a nice guy. So I'm going to walk back and forth here. It's going to be kind of a pain. But since that time, I've kind of updated my equipment. This is a 9¼ inch diameter Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. It's fully robotic. It has GPS built into it, so it gets its location on the planet Earth from the GPS. Once it has that and the correct time, you align it off 2 known stars. It'll tell you whether your alignment was successful or not. If it was successful, you have a little hand controller. You just punch in what you want to see. The telescope slews to it. When it gets done moving, it's in the eyepiece. It's pretty cool. Now, like I said, It's called a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. It's also called a catadiopter telescope, or CAT for short. So when guys like me are talking about telescopes and you hear the word CAT, that's the kind of telescope you're looking at. Now I own 2 CATs. This one is great for looking at the stars. And then I have this cat, which is not so great for looking at the stars. But she likes to keep me company at night. I am definitely her human. She follows me along like a lost puppy, and that's Rosie the cat. And if you don't mind, if I can take a little sidebar, so to speak, would you like to hear a story about my cat?
Sure.
All right. I have to sit down. I was born with really deformed legs, and if it hadn't been for the Shriners, I wouldn't be able to walk nowadays. So I have to sit down every once in a while. But in 2009, I lost my mom. My mom's name was Marcia, and I miss her every day. Shortly after that, we lost our cat, which we'd had for 18 years. So I kept bugging my wife, can I get a dog? Can I get a cat? Can I get a dog? Can I get a cat? She's like, no! Tired of cats in the house. I'm tired of the shedding. No more pets. Well, just like a little kid, I kept begging, begging, begging. So at Christmas time, she surprised me with a gift certificate to go pick out a kitten at the Humane Society. And on the way down there, first time as giddy as can be going to get a new cat, I told her, I said, I want a black and white cat. Huh. She said, what difference does it make? I said, I'm a Chicago White Sox fan. That's their colors, and I want a black and white cat. To which she rolled her eyes. So we walk in this little room, and there's a couple dozen little kittens running around, and this little black and white kitten comes up to me, climbs all the way up my pant leg, all the way up my shirt, and starts nuzzling my neck. So I told the young lady working in there, I said, boy, this seems like an awful friendly cat. I think I'll take this one. She goes, oh, that's one of our favorites. We've named it Marcia. That's a true story. So driving home, my wife says, we can't name it Marcia. That's weird. And I says, well, I agree. So we named it Rosie because at one time my mother had a dog by the name of Rosie. So this is Rosie the cat. And she's definitely a good kitty. If you ever come over to my house, you'll have a hard time getting rid of her. All right. And these are some of the pictures that I've taken out at the park. Am I in your way here? How about I just sit right here?
Perfect.
How about I do it like this? That way I won't have to walk back and forth, and I'll talk loud so everybody can hear me. So, when you have dark skies and the right kind of equipment, you can get pictures like this. Now this telescope you see here in the front of the room is what I use to take all my pictures with. There's actually 2 different telescopes in this rig. One of them is to look at the star and take a picture. The other one looks at the stars and it determines if the star has moved a little bit in the sky, and if it has, it tells the amount to compensate for it. So with that combination, I've taken pictures, single pictures, up to 16 minutes long without any movement of the stars. And what you're seeing right here is the Orion Nebula. It's more of a winter constellation, and it's actually a stellar nursery where stars are formed, because in that mess of colorful clouds are all the ingredients necessary to form a star. The bluer nebula up towards the top and the left is what they call the Running Man Nebula. I kind of think it looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. This is the Flame and Horsehead Nebula. If you look at that red part towards the bottom there, it kind of looks like the silhouette of a horse's head. And that's usually pretty close to the Orion Nebula. This is the North American Nebula. Kind of looks like an outline of the United States. Can everybody see that? You see where New England would be right there, where it's a little bit darker and redder? They call that the Cygnus Wall. And these were all taken at the park. And this is the Whirlpool Galaxy. It's 150 million light years away. And it's about 3 times the size of our Milky Way galaxy. Now to the logo. Dr. Lawless was an actual MD. He was a world-famous dermatologist that traveled the world. He was out of Chicago, but he loved coming to this area in the summertime. He developed a lot of friends, and every time he came, he bought more land, and more land. And when he passed away, the family donated all the land, 820 acres, to the state. And the state says, we don't know what to do with it. We really don't want it right now. So the county of Cass bought 820 acres about 50 years ago for $1. And it became Dr. Lawless Park. Now the constellation you see up there is called Ophiuchus. And Ophiuchus in Greek mythology is sort of known as the celestial medicine man. So that constellation in the logo is a shout out to Dr. Lawless, and of course the silhouettes represent my father and myself. And we held a contest to design this logo, and the wife of one of the members of the Michiana Astronomical Society, she's a pretty good artist, came up with this logo and won $100 as her prize for doing so. So, let's talk about some super cool space facts. Did you know that 1 tablespoon of a neutron star weighs more than the combined total weight of the human population? So if anybody here does any kind of baking and you've had to measure out a tablespoon of something, imagine if you could go to a neutron star, dip out a tablespoon, you couldn't lift it, because it would weigh more than the entire human population put together.
Wow.
The sun is big, so big that 1 million planet Earths could fit inside the sun. The sun is our own particular star. It is 8 light minutes away from Earth. But even though that's pretty darn big, see the sun? It's the smallest little dot right there when you compare it to the other stars out there. Betelgeuse, everybody just calls it Betelgeuse, is part of the Orion Nebula, and Antares is part of Scorpius. So, once again, 1 million Earths could fit into the sun, and God knows how many suns could fit into Betelgeuse. The universe is vast, and then there are stars out there that are maybe 2 or 3 times bigger than Betelgeuse. There are more stars in space than there are grains of sand on Earth. So think of all the grains of sand along the beaches of the Great Lakes, around all the oceans of the world, all the grains of sand in the Sahara Desert, Death Valley. There are more stars out there than that. It's hard to fathom. And we might have to update that because of the new James Webb Telescope is discovering galaxies that we didn't even know were there. This is a fun fact. What you're looking at there is the Andromeda Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is the closest galaxy to us. It is 2.5 million light years away, and it's twice the size of our Milky Way galaxy. But the speed of sound, the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. That means in 1 second, if you could travel at the speed of light, you could go around the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. So when they talk about a light year, that's how far light could travel in 1 year's time. So if you can travel that far in 1 second, imagine how far you could go in 1 year at that speed. So my question for you, if you started at point A and you were in a spaceship and you wanted to traverse the diameter of the Andromeda Galaxy to point B without ever making a potty break, without ever pulling into McDonald's for a Shamrock Shake and a big order of fries, how long would it take you to get from point A to point B at the speed of light? Just make some guesses. This works a lot better, people, if I get some audience participation. Just throw out a guess, anybody.
Million years.
How many?
10 million.
10 million? That's actually high. It would take you 200,000 years to cross. So our Milky Way galaxy would take you 100,000 years. And these really, the Andromeda and our Milky Way galaxies are on the small side. There are galaxies out there that just are 10 times bigger than our galaxies. And there's millions upon millions upon millions of other galaxies out there. And one of the questions I always get out at the park, especially from little kids, is do I think there's life out there somewhere in space? And I look at it from the standpoint of it's probably a mathematical impossibility that there isn't some sort of life out there. The trouble is, let's say we got a signal from the Andromeda Galaxy, some sort of communication. Number one, there's a communication gap. We would have to translate their message so we could understand it. But you have to understand that message, which using radio waves, for instance, would take 2.5 million years to come to Earth. So if we were successful in translating their message and we sent a message back, it would take 2.5 million years for them to get the message. And then we don't even know if the civilization would even be there when it got there.
You don't know what the civilization would be.
That's right.
What kind of critter?
Yeah, if you've ever read the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know, it could be an intelligent life of ballpoint pens.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know. So it's the distance and how vast the universe is that really just is mind-boggling to me. Any questions so far? Another interesting story, because people always ask me, do I believe in life somewhere out there in space? I live down here on Hamilton Street, and behind my house is an open field. Behind that is a cemetery. And the guy who owns that field gives me permission to go out there with my telescope sometimes at night. And I was out there one time, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, with my telescope, just looking at the stars. And it started to get a little cloudy. So I sat down in my chair and I said, well, I should go in, but I'll wait a little bit to see if it clears up. In the meantime, something caught my eyesight out of the corner of my eye, and it was this V shape of dimly lit little lights coming in. And I stopped and I looked again, and it's just drifting in, getting a little bit lower, and closer at the same time. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I actually seeing a UFO? You know, and you kind of rub your eyes, and am I seeing things that are playing tricks on me? And I look again, and nope, it's this V-shape of dots coming in. And I'm looking and looking and looking. Pretty soon this V-shape starts going honk, honk. And it was a flock of geese coming in to land, and the bellies were reflecting the street lights. And, you idiot. So, time to go in. So, I've been out here too long. That's a true story.
Well, the V shape really.
Yeah. So let's talk about light pollution. Through this presentation, I have several small little videos. This first one, I hope, serves as a primer to help you understand a little bit about light pollution.
The night sky has been a feature of human existence for 50,000 years. Every historical figure that you can think of could see the sky. And we together, collectively, without particularly meaning to, have painted over the sky with kind of an orange haze, and we can't see the stars very well. Up until 100 years ago, everyone who could see this and appreciate it. So we've lost a lot. Thousands of years ago, potters discovered that if you heat something up hot enough, it turns red. If you keep heating it up, it gradually progresses to be more and more blue. So a guy named Kelvin figured out a way to measure the temperature of light by looking at the spectrum. The hotter it is, the bluer the peak of those colors is. The warmer light doesn't create as much light pollution as the bluer light. The bluer light is stronger, it's shorter wavelengths, so it penetrates more. The blue light also regulates something in the back of your brain called the pineal gland, which regulates your circadian rhythm. Increasingly, we're seeing those high temperature lights, and it's telling your body to wake up, and it's one of the reasons people are having trouble sleeping. The American Medical Association has warned about these high temperature lights, and they say that this light is causing us to not sleep as well, and not sleeping as well causes all manner of other problems. The single biggest contributor to light pollution is streetlights. There are good streetlights and bad streetlights. The good ones shine the light down on the street. This is something that people need to inform their politicians about, because the politicians don't necessarily know. A lot of people don't like too much light, and they need to know that, yes, indeed, there's lots of people like you who don't like this light, and you can do something about it. This is a fight that's still going on. The outcome is far from clear. It may not be that we'll be able to set up a telescope in Times Square and see anything, but if we can all work together, you might not have to drive as far from Times Square to see something as you do now. It might give our children and grandchildren a chance of seeing the Milky Way and getting to know the sky a little bit, because it's so important to know that, because it kind of is a reminder of our place in the universe, that big as we are, there's something far, far bigger than us.
MPT Digital Studios, web exclusive, made for mobile.
Now, as I said earlier, I grew up in Cassopolis. I grew up on Diamond Cove Road, and where I grew up now, right across the street, is a Cassopolis High School. When we moved there in the early 60s, that was a dirt road. And behind us was a huge horse pasture, and on the other side was a cow pasture. And the stars were just so beautiful and bright back then, brighter than they are now, even at Dr. Lawless Park, because of light pollution. And I think that's a shame. As part of the International Dark Sky, we're not advocating for the elimination of light at night, because that would be silly. People have to see where they're going, not trip over things. We're just asking you to be smart with your outdoor lighting and preserve the night sky. It's good for Mother Nature, it's good for the environment, and it's good for human health too. And it just protects the beauty of the night sky. So there's 3 different segments of light pollution. One is light trespass, the other is sky glow, and the other one is over-illumination. This is light trespass. The title there says that light that is cast where it's not wanted or needed. I like to think of it as unwanted light that crosses property lines. Where I live, there's a person across the street that will go unnamed. They have a beautiful, beautiful hot rod in their garage. And every time he pulls that sucker out, I salivate like Pavlov's dog. It is absolutely beautiful. But he has lights on the side of his garage that kind of makes the neighborhood look like a penitentiary at night. And so I've asked him, I said, you know, is there any way you can tone that down? I'll buy the lights. I'll help you put them up. He said, well, I'm worried about people breaking into my garage. I said, well, I can understand that with that car in there. I said, but tell me something. Do you stay up all night looking out the window to make sure Nobody's breaking up into your garage? Well, no, I've got to get up and go to work the next morning. I said, well, then how would you know anybody's there in the first place? Because in essence, you're just providing a work light for those who are nefarious inclined. You're giving that person who might be breaking in an extra hand to work with because he no longer has to have a flashlight. And to me, somebody walking around that time of night with a flashlight draws more attention than somebody who just has their lights on all the time. Any questions so far? None? Oh, come on. I told you it works better if you have questions. Any kind of questions? Nothing? Comments? Can you think of any place in this area that is bad for light pollution? I'll tell you the worst.
The marina.
Thank you. And as a matter of
It's
fact,
not as bad now as it was.
as a matter of fact, you're
when
going to see a video here that I sent the IDA, the International Dark Sky Association, a picture of that area, and they actually included it in one of their videos. It was so
it
bad.
started. Yeah,
And I spoke to the village about that, and they finally got them to turn down the lights a little bit in the area. And I talked to the owner of the property, and I asked him, is there any way you can go a little bit further with the lights? And he said, well, our insurance company requires us to have lights on the property in order to be fully insured. And I says, well, does the insurance company require you to light up just your property or the whole neighborhood? Which he promptly asked me to leave the premises.
Yes, he is a joyful fellow.
Yes, he is. The other one is Sky Glow. This was taken south of South Bend, looking north down by, think of it, Otten Road. Looking north, kind of looks like the city's on fire, really. And Sky Glow is a light from poorly designed fixtures that allows the light to escape vertically and reflect off particles in the air, such as air pollution, water vapor, and dust. And that's all wasted light. And unless you're interested in fooling somebody that a UFO is coming in and illuminating the underside of the birds' bellies, that's all just wasted light and wasted energy to create that light. In many cases, that's a light, even here in town, that the taxpayers have to pay for that energy.
But does that light that you see there have a permanent effect on the atmosphere or the skyscape or anything,
Yeah, as long as the light is on, yes it does.
just while it's on?
Right. The good thing about light pollution, unlike water pollution or ground pollution, which is hard to control and mediate, with light pollution, it's as simple as turning off the light or just changing the fixture a little bit. Think of it as in your house. In your house, you have table lamps, you have floor lamps. You put shades on those lights because otherwise the glare would be terrible. Right. So what you want is a light that comes down, hides the source of the light, and forces all the light down onto the ground. And since you're taking all that light and forcing it down on the ground, rather than have some of it going up in the sky, you can actually get away with a less powerful light source. Out at the park, we had to change all our outdoor lighting to be IDA compliant. We had 12 different lights we had to change out. And we went to LEDs, and doing the math based on, I think it was 15 cents per kilowatt hour, over a year's time, each one of those fixtures is going to save us $80 per year in electricity costs. Actually, it's going to save you people, the taxpayer, $80 per light. On top of that, Midwest Energy is our electric provider out there, and they gave us $100 for switching over to LED lighting. So in less than 3 years, we're going to recoup all their money on the investment on our outdoor lighting. But it's very important when you choose lighting to make sure that the lighting source is 3,000 Kelvin or less. And the reason for that is because anything in a higher color temperature than 3,000 Kelvin contains a lot of that blue rich lighting that the gentleman in the video was talking about. And blue-rich lighting is a powerful little wavelength that has the ability to scatter and defeat the purpose of a fully shielded light fixture. And it's that blue wavelength lighting that scatters so efficiently, and that's the reason on a nice sunny day that the sky is a blue color. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Working at it.
Working at it. Over illumination, too many lights. It creates glare, wastes energy, and obstructs the view of the night sky. Those look like pretty decent apartments, maybe condos. There's patios and balconies where when snow's not on the ground, you can sit outside at night and bask in the warm glow of man-made light. They could fix that by just making the lights fully shielded. Now the next video coming up was produced by the park rangers of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which I believe is in Montana. And they made this video that's probably going to be the corniest video you've ever seen in your lifetime.
It's in North Dakota.
In North Dakota? Okay, thank you. And but it really gets the point across in a funny sort of way on the type of lights to use and other factors related to light pollution.
In these or other videos, we learned how night lighting and light pollution are impacting animals and actually ruining our views of the night sky.
Yeah, but seriously, we need lights at nighttime because they help keep us safe, right?
Well, sort of. Actually, one of the major problems is ineffective lighting. Take this one, for example. It was designed to look pretty good in a kind of 70s groovy style during the daytime. But what happens at night? Whoa! All right, it's night, but it's also raining. Oh, sure. Thanks, Jeff. Okay. Well, as you can see, the light is now on, and its purpose is one thing and one thing only, to illuminate the ground so I can see where I'm going. Unfortunately, you can see that only about 50% of that light is actually doing that. 10% is shining right into your eyes, and the other 40% is just going straight into the night sky. And unless we're looking to light up leaves on the undersides of birds' bellies, that's just totally wasted light.
I know. Let's talk about glare and safety for a moment. Let's use this light here as an example. This light shines directly into our eyes. Its glare causes our pupils to contract, blinding us to the darkness.
Wow, the glare is really bad.
Yeah, it's like car headlights blinding you at night. But in this case, we can fix it. So if we shield this light so that all of the light is pointing on the ground,
Wow, that's a lot better.
our eyes relax a little bit, our pupils start to dilate, and we can see everything in the dark, including the scary-looking guy who's been hiding out in the shadows this whole time.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea he was hiding there. So why do we have these style lights in our parks? Well, it's the same reason you've got them in your towns and your cities, and that's because nobody thought about it when they were designing them. But we're thinking about it now, and we're striving to make changes to help fix our lighting and bring back our dark nights.
Oh, have you heard of the International Dark Sky Association? They're an organization dedicated to protecting the night skies. We plan on working with them to fix our lights. If we all work together, the savings are huge. Since nearly half of all lights in the U.S. point upwards, we waste an estimated $3 billion of electricity each year.
Saving money, protecting wildlife, and bringing back the Milky Way, that's what I call a win-win-win situation.
So what are we waiting for?
So what are we waiting for?
No, you're the one who's waiting.
Who's waiting here?
I'm not waiting.
Let's go!
All right, everybody who thinks that was corny, raise their hand. Yeah. So that's true. Currently, I'm working with one township here in the county. They are putting into effect an outdoor lighting ordinance. I'd like to make it county-wide. the village of Cassopolis, if you've ever been through there at night, of course they did a lot of renovations downtown, and they purposely put up dark sky friendly lighting to help protect the environment out at the park. And very thankful for that. And of course the new industrial park that's going in outside of Cassopolis, part of the ordinance for that industrial park is that all the lighting out there has to be dark sky friendly. So here in Edwardsburg, AEP went through and changed out all the street lights. AEP owns the lights, but the village pays for the electricity of the lights. And the village president at that time gave me a call and said, hey, I got a notice from AEP, they're going to come into town, and they gave us two options. They can change out all the lights at once. They will be dark sky friendly lighting, fully shielded, but they're 4,000 K. Otherwise, the other option is they'll just replace them as the light goes out. And of course, the village, they want to save money, and taxpayers do too. And so I said, well, you're getting fully shielded lighting, and I wish it was 3,000 or less, but it's a compromise. So they went with those lightings. So we do have fully shielded street lighting here in town. The problem is they hired a outside contractor to put them up, and they didn't put them up very level. So a lot of times if you're coming a certain direction towards the light and it's tilted towards you, you get that glare still coming into your eyes. Yeah, so what are you shaking your head about?
Doesn't surprise me.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a
But where I live pretty much at the corner of East Street and Hamilton, and there's a street light there, and they had it cranked, where even my wife put up some blackout curtains in the bedroom.
Oh,
And so I called them and I said, is there anything you can do? Just level it. Well, they came out and leveled it, and then they put a shield around the side to keep the light coming towards my house. So if you do it, and they didn't charge me anything for it, so if you do have a problem light in your area, yeah, speak up, give them a call. And they were there within a couple of days, and they put up that shield for me, and it's all good now.
So you called AEP?
Yep.
wow.
So this is a sort of a picture of very bad lighting, no cutoff, to the best all the way over to the right, full cutoff. As you can see, when you look at it horizontally, you can't see the light source itself, so you don't get that glare coming into your eyes, and all the light is focused down on the ground. But it's a two-step process. You want fully shielded, and you want 3,000 Kelvin or less. Actually, I would recommend if you could get it 2,700 K outdoor lighting. It's better for your health, and it's also better for nocturnal wildlife too. So I said it was bad for your health, and if you don't believe me, maybe you will believe the American Medical Association.
As night falls,
This
on
is
the
from a
tri-state
Cincinnati
light
Cincinnati
is
TV
beginning to
station.
shine. Light-emitting diodes, or LEDs, are at the center of these new street lights. The LEDs produce more light using half the electricity of those old familiar high-pressure sodium lights. The lower-cost bright light combo is why LEDs are now popping up on our roads and streets, byways and highways.
If you look at that, you can actually see the blue tint of the lights.
According to the Ohio Department of Transportation, approximately 1,100 LEDs now make up the 46,000 streetlights on state roads and highways. But the nation's largest group of physicians, the American Medical Association, is now warning about a potential darker side to these LED lights. It's not a good thing, bottom line, right? That's correct. AMA President Dr. Andrew Gurman agreed to talk with me from Altoona, Pennsylvania. Dr. Gurman believes the light emitted by these diodes can be downright hazardous. According to this official AMA report, many of the new streetlights could be considered unshielded LED lighting, which could be creating a road hazard. Does that worry you just from the ability to drive your car in and out of these lights at night? Well, yes, it does. Dr. Gerben and the AMA say the potential hazard on the roads is caused by both the brightness and color of the new LED lights. Most of the LED street lights emit 4,000 kelvins, or 4,000 K.
Now, the 4,000 K lights are the ones that you've seen on some car headlights coming at you.
And just like that car coming at you, the AMA report states, the same amount of light overhead can be very blue and very blinding.
They are about 29% blue light, which you can't see, but that light rattles around inside your eyeballs, particularly as you get older. And that blue light can be very harmful. It causes glare.
The AMA calls it disability glare, an impairment that the report says causes a veil of illuminance, which leads to worse vision than if the light never existed at all. In other words, in some cases with LED street lights, the AMA report states you'd be better off driving in the dark. Those are strong words.
Well, that's what's in the report.
That glare...
All right, I cut the video short because it was such a long video, but it got to the point that I wanted it to get to. The AMA did come out with an empirical study with a lot of quantitative evidence showing that people who are exposed to a lot of blue-rich lighting actually have a much higher incidence rate of both prostate and breast cancer. And that's because that blue-rich lighting affects the brain's ability. There's not the pituitary gland, it's a gland in your brain that produces a compound called melatonin. And the doctors are finding out that melatonin now has a lot, yes sir? Pardon? Okay. I lost my place. The melatonin has a lot of cancer-fighting attributes associated with it. And light pollution is related to crime. When I give these presentations, usually the number one pushback I get on people asking people to reduce their outdoor lighting is they're worried about crime. How many people here believe that having extra lighting at night reduces crime?
Somewhat.
Good. There was a big study done in London, England, several years ago, and they took two neighborhoods that demographically were almost exactly the same. In one, they left it as the control neighborhood. They didn't do anything to it. The second neighborhood, they increased lighting by 100%, I think it was. And they studied the crime rates over a 5-year period. And after that 5-year period, they compiled all the results. And in the control neighborhood, they really didn't see any difference in the rise or reduction of crime. The other neighborhood, crime actually doubled. And they couldn't figure that out because that goes against most people's common sense belief that, extra lighting is going to reduce crime. So they thought about it and thought about it. They couldn't come up with a reason why. So as a last resort, they went to the criminals that they were able to apprehend and said, why did you choose this neighborhood over this other neighborhood? Oh, because of all the extra lights, it made us feel safer, they said. That's the truth.
Just show them the light.
Yeah.
Feel safer.
Yep. Mhm. Yep.
When we dark rangers talk to people about why they feel the need to pump so much light into the nocturnal world, one of their biggest concerns has to do with safety. And I guess it's because it just sort of seems like common sense would dictate the more light you have, the safer you are. The problem is, this, like many other common sense assertions, really doesn't hold up when it's been scientifically tested. And these studies have been done in a variety of places, outside the city of London, actually throughout the whole of Great Britain, in Australia, here in the United States. And what they generally agree upon is that light certainly doesn't deter crime. It doesn't make the criminals run away. They're not scared of the light. In fact, if you were to ask a cop, one of the things they might tell you is that about 75 to 80% of crime occurs during the daytime. So when you put it in those terms, if you add light to your cities and towns and your private property, all you're going to do is really just increase the operational hours of the bad guys. So keeping your house dark, believe it or not, is a better way to protect your home. Now the other issue that comes up is people's personal safety when they're walking the streets at night. And these studies show a variety of interesting things. One of the things is that if you have a lot of bright shop windows, that tends to attract shoppers. And shoppers tend to carry money with them while they're shopping. And burglars know this. It's all about how you design your lighting. If you have very powerful lights, they're going to almost always create hard shadows. You're going to create hard shadows, they're going to create glare. You're probably familiar with glare from driving highways and seeing headlights of oncoming cars, but the same thing can be done with a street light unless the bulb is recessed far enough up inside the light fixture that you don't actually see the bulb. But even if it's a powerful light and it's fully shielded, it's going to create hard shadows. And what the bad guys know is the hard shadows is where you want to hide to set up an attack. And in the safety of those hard shadows, because the human eye can't penetrate that darkness, well, you as the victim might be able to get fairly close to the bad guy before you even see he's hiding there. So the better kind of lighting to keep your neighborhoods and city streets safe is the kind that is a little bit dimmer. If you use an amber light as opposed to a white light, then you can solve that problem of glare. You also take away the hiding spots of hard shadows. So it's really not about outlighting the burglars, turning the night into day, but it's about smart lighting that outsmarts the burglars. That's what we need in our towns and communities.
Any questions on that? No? Come on. Audience participation is lacking.
I use motion sensing lights,
It's a very good idea. Very good idea.
but I don't worry about the burglars. It's me tripping. I'm out in the yard at night with the dog.
Yeah. Well, you know, what he said is true. The gentleman, I can't think of his real name, his actual name, but he's a professor at the University of Utah. He travels all over the world giving presentations on light pollution. And I've looked it up and his figures are correct. You know, the vast majority of violent crime happens during the daytime. And that's the same with home break-ins, because burglars know during the daytime
Everybody's
there's a greater chance that the house is empty. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people with very expensive homes, they tend to light them up like penitentiaries. I look at that like, you're just putting your house on display. You're showing that, hey, we're rich, we got a very expensive home, we probably have very expensive items inside. I'm going to stop this here. Let me go back. Now, as I said before, Michigan was the first state in the Union to create what they call Michigan Dark Sky Preserves. It's a well-known fact that one of the state's top industries is tourism. We are a very beautiful state, very beautiful. And astrotourism is on the rise across the United States. And that's because the stars are getting harder and harder to see. At the park, the vast majority of our visitors from the park are either from the Chicagoland or Metro Detroit area, because in those areas you can't see the stars. Now, Dr. Lawless Park isn't as dark as Headland's Dark Sky Park or Beaver Island or Keweenaw Peninsula in the Upper Peninsula, but we're pretty darn dark. And people come there to enjoy the stars. You know, when I go to the park, sometimes I take the stars for granted. I've seen them like that so much and remember how darker it used to be when I was a kid. People from these big cities come out to Lawless Park and they're just overtaken by the beauty of the night sky. And they bring their kids with them and we get a lot of return people out there. So astrotourism is on the rise, and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation recognizes that. They are the people who produce those Pure Michigan commercials that you see on TV that are narrated by Tim Allen. I went to college with Tim Allen. I worked at the college radio station with him. He was a goofy guy. He was one of those guys who had that weird, dry sense of humor that he would say something to you and you'd kind of walk away scratching your head like, I don't understand it. And all of a sudden, a few minutes later, you're like, I get it now. And he lived off campus, and you always knew when he was shopping at the local A&P store because he had a pet pig. Not a potbelly pig, but just a regular pig that he would tie out up front. And so when you saw that pig there, you knew Tim was inside somewhere.
It's unusual, all right.
So anyway, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation came up with this commercial. The commercial showed nationwide on 6 national networks and at over 2,000 different theaters in the Midwest. So let me back it up and we'll start again. Still not sold, the stars have a great sales pitch. That picture there is a single exposure taken by a regular visitor to the park, Jason Boucher. That's a 20-second exposure of the Milky Way. And as you can see right above the tree line there, that one little spot, that's the Andromeda Galaxy. So on clear nights at the park, you can see the Andromeda Galaxy just with your naked eye. And the nighttime skies at the park vary because of what they call transparency. Right now, because of all the humidity in the air, the transparency isn't very good. But you get those nice crisp fall nights, and sometimes I don't even bother to take my telescope to the park. I have one of those gravity chairs, those gravity loungers that you can have. I bring a blanket, throw it over me, and just look at the sky and just take it all in. It's absolutely beautiful. Calvin and Hobbes. If people sat outside and looked at the stars each night, I bet they would live a lot differently. No matter what your beliefs are, if you believe a all-powerful being created the human race and put us here on Earth, or if you think we're just the creation of evolution and scientific fact, there's no getting around the fact that we are all made of star stuff. Everything on this Earth is made from exploded stars, including us. And not being able to see the stars robs us of that ability to look into our past. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my presentation, and in the words of John Lennon, I hope I pass the audition. Thank you, Chad. Is there any final questions?
When
None?
can you go out to the park?
I'm sorry?
When can you go out to the park? I mean, do they close it down at midnight or?
No, we are open the weekends of a new moon or the weekend following a new moon. This weekend we won't be open, but next weekend we will be open Friday and Saturday night until 2 o'clock in the morning. And we
You
have...
And you have enough lighting for safety, right?
Yep. Yep. And it's very important if you can manage it when you come out to the park, bring a little red light flashlight with you because that saves your night vision.
Red light?
And if you, because when you pull into the parking lot, that's all dark sky lighting right there. But you walk a little path out into the big observing area, and the lights, you can't even see them from there. And I'm usually out there with my big telescope. I'm more than ready to show you the stars. If you'd like to know more about the park, we do have a Facebook page that is dedicated to the park, so all you have to do is get on Facebook and do a search for Dr. Lawless International Dark Sky Park. Our schedule is up there. The next big thing we've got coming up is the Perseid meteor shower, which is August the 11th and 12th. And we're actually offering camping through the night out there for that night. To get into the park, if you're a Cass County residents, it's $2 for carload of people, $3 for out of county, so it's a pretty good deal. And our 5-year plan is to be open 24/7. The park is 820 acres and goes all the way up to M60, and we're in negotiations right now with the University of Notre Dame because they're interested in building an observatory out at the park. And we want to develop that north end of the park off of M60 as to being the dark sky observing part of the park and having access right off the highway that way. So we have put in for grants. We have our fingers crossed. I'm pretty excited about the plans that we have for the future. A lot of people are kind of upset right now because we're not open every night, but we're kind of taking baby steps. We're trying to get it right. And COVID was a big hit to the money that comes into our park. And in one way it was almost a blessing because it slowed us down and we've learned a lot as we've gone along. So we do have big plans. It's been a big draw for the county. I know a lot of those Airbnb websites now for the Cassopolis or even just the general Cass County area now mention that it's not that far away from the International Dark Sky Park, so it is a draw. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have,
You have one question?
thanks to Chris Colbert. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks to Chris Colbert, we have cookies and punch in the other room so you can mingle, ask Robert questions, etc.
Lady there, I have a question about red flashlights.